Hey, I'm LP. Welcome to Production Pro. So I've been getting questions about kit rentals and like how much to get for a kit rental, should you get a kit rental, and then also about what's some good gear for crew gear. So I'll kind of talk about what might be some good crew gear for you to get, depending on what department you're in. And then also I'm going to cover expendables a little bit and why you should try to get an expendables budget on as many jobs as you can. Okay, so let's start out with kit rentals. So kit rental is a separate rental that you charge production that's not the same as your day rate. So it's completely separate. And so it's different from crew gear. It doesn't always necessarily cover crew gear, so they're kind of separate, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So, you know, depending on what department you're in, you're gonna wanna ask for a kit rental. For like a first AC or a second AC, your kit rental is gonna be pretty low, like probably about like $50 a day on like a commercial, maybe even 25 if it's like a longer commercial. But if it's a longer job, they'll kind of negotiate like what's a good, like buy like a weekly kit rental that you'll get. And that's mostly just for for your cart. Now, sometimes your kit rental can cover your expendables a little bit. It depends if they have sometimes they'll be like, well, if you have the expendables, then we'll give you a little bit of extra kit, or we'll give you a kit rental, because sometimes you don't get one all the time. You should definitely get one. Like if you're a first AC and you're renting your cart, definitely get a kit rental. Sometimes second ACs won't get it, or you'll have to like split it with your second. So like they'll be like, oh, we have $50 kit a day for one person. And if it's you and your second, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll split it with them. So we'll get like 25 each. So that way the second AC gets a kit rental as well. So where kit rentals are kind of different from camera to some other departments is like if you're a VTR, a sound mixer, or like a DIT, your kit rental is going to be much higher, because your kit rental actually includes the kit that you're bringing, the equipment that you're bringing. Like if you're a sound mixer, you're bringing your mixer, you're bringing your mics, your lavs, your Comtex for Village so they can hear what's going on. DIT, you're bringing your computer, and like if you're going to be doing color on set, you're bringing your little wheels for DaVinci. If you're VTR, depends on how many monitors are you bringing. Are you bringing like a big monitor for Village? Are you just bringing 2 monitors for director, 1 monitor? It depends on what you're bringing. So your kit rental is gonna range from depending on what you're bringing for each job. Now with those departments, I don't put that under crew gear, because it's their kit. Like that's gear that you have to be in that position. You're buying your own gear and able to do that job. A lot of other positions, like if you're camera or grip or lighting, a lot of times you're going to a rental house and you're renting that gear for like every job. So like camera, they're like majority of the time they're renting the camera and a lot of the accessories. But that's where kind of the crew gear comes in, when you're renting some of those smaller accessories yourself. So that's kind of where crew gear comes in, and I'll get to that in a bit. Like, so if you're, like I said, like a mixer or a VTR or DIT, you kind of want to have different tiers of your gear. So that way, one job may only need a couple small things, or maybe your DIT, they just need you to download. So you're not going to charge your full kit rate just to do data management. So, kind of set up some different tiers with different rental rates for your kit if you're in, one of those positions. So if you're unsure of what to charge for your kit, like if you have a bunch of gear in your kit, like a good rule of thumb is to take 10% of the total value of the gear that you're renting, and that would be your daily rental rate. Now that's not like a hard and fast rule, but it gives you kind of like a starting place for you to determine how much you want to rent for the different gear that you're bringing on. And it's always negotiable. Production's always going to try to talk you down or whatever, and you're going to talk them up. So, just, remember that all of this stuff is negotiable. So let's talk about crew gear. So if you're like a camera person, like mostly a first AC, or if you're a key grip or a gaffer, you can buy equipment that you can then rent to the production that is separate from your rental rate and your kit rental. So it's a good way to get extra money for yourself. A good piece of crew gear to start out with is, if you're a first AC, is to get a focus monitor. You're gonna need this on every single job you do, right? Because you always need your own monitor for focus. So like find out, what monitor you like, what's good. I got this one because I like TV Logic. That's my preference for pulling focus. And this particular model, the 7H or something Mark II, is really bright. It's even brighter than the small HD 703. And so, you know, I just kind of, this is the monitor that I went with. And I think this monitor new was like 1,600 bucks. So it's also a little bit cheaper than the small HDs, but you know, it just comes down to personal preference. You know, what monitor you like to full focus on. You know, with this monitor, you know, if you're doing commercials or whatever, small jobs, 2-3 day jobs, that's automatically going to be like an extra like 100, 200 bucks in your pocket, depending on the discount. And I'll come back to that. So, you know, just having this is a little bit extra money that you're going to get on every single job. You know, if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can get something like a Teradek for wireless video transmission, because it's become standard now to have a Teradek on every camera package. And I highly recommend, if you do decide to buy a Teradek, you know, do your research, you know, and do not spend more than you can afford. But, you know, get a 1 to 2, because you're always going to at least need 2. I may even actually buy a third, because you can have one for your focus monitor, you can have one for like a mobile director's monitor, and then you can even have like a third one. If you have 3, give one to VTR. And sometimes DITs like to have their own receiver because they like to have a clean image. They don't, I mean, not that they don't want to share with VTR, but sometimes it's just a lot easier for them to have their own. So sometimes you'll give DIT and VTR one. You don't have to buy the stuff on your own. I know a few people that will go in on a deal together, because like when you start getting into the higher price Teradeks, I mean, you're dropping like 20 plus grand. So, you know, find a business partner. A lot of people do that. You know, for big items, they'll find a business partner and chip in 50-50, or, you know, split it 3 ways. And then, you know, then that's more people that can get it on more jobs. And so you'll, you know, make your money back a lot quicker that way. Another thing as a first you can get is like a wireless focus system. Now I got this one just for my camera package that I'm building. And if you haven't seen the video where I talk about why I chose this one, you can check that out. But if you're doing bigger jobs, you can start to get, you know, like a Preston or a WCU, and then that thing will get you pretty good money on a job. And again, this is something you need on every single job. So, you know, do the research and figure out what you can use on as many jobs as you can. You know, like a key grip, you can get something like a Dana dolly. They're not super expensive. And you're gonna have speed reel most of the time on your truck for it in the stand. So, you know, get a Dana dolly, it comes in a package. And then you can also get a slider. Sliders are used a lot. Get like a Mitchell mount 3-foot slider, and that thing will probably rent a lot, because you can use it on the dolly. It's really good to have on the dolly, so you can have that little bit of side to side if you're doing a dolly move or something. But then also you can pop it off and you can put it anywhere, and it gives just a little bit of movement to camera rental, and a lot of people love the slider. So that's, you know, something you could start out with as well. Now, if you're a gaffer, and again, like I said, you know, people go into business together. I know 2 gaffers that, you know, they used to be roommates and they're friends, and so they started their own company together, and they just started slowly buying lights and getting bigger and bigger lights. And then now they've built up like a decent lighting package that they bring to most of their jobs, if not every job. And then if they need something really big, you know, like they need like an 18K or something, they just go to the rental house and they rent it for that job, you know, because production's paying for it. So they just go and rent whatever extra specialty or big lights that they need. You know, they personally own like a couple sky panels. They've got like Astera tubes or quasars. You know, those are some good, you know, basic kits you can start out with to start getting on jobs and get your, you know, a little bit of extra money. You know, with all this gear that I'm, you know, talking about, you know, make sure you get name branded gear, because nobody wants you to show up with some piece of gear they've never heard of, don't even know if it works, if it's reliable. They want stuff that they've worked with, that they know works, and is basically like the industry standard. You know, that doesn't mean you can't try out new things, but like if it comes to key pieces like a Teradek, you know, wireless video, don't get some brand nobody's ever heard of. You know, get either a Paralinks, which they don't make anymore because Teradek bought them, but if you have a Paralinks, some people still use them because they're really good. A lot of people use them. And then there's Teradek. So like, you know, this is the standard. So like if you're gonna get wireless video, get a Teradek. You know, with the monitors, there's, you know, also, you know, get a good monitor. You know, get a TV Logic, get a small HD. Those are kind of the only two that I recommend getting if you're getting a monitor, like a focus monitor. I also own a 17-inch OLED, a Sony OLED TriMaster that I use for a director's monitor, and those get rented on most jobs as well. But again, like, it has to be, those monitors are the standard. You see those monitors on every single job. You know, for a long time it was the old Panasonics, and then now it's the Sony OLEDs, which unfortunately they don't make anymore. So it's gonna be interesting to see what becomes the next, you know, on-set monitor. But I mean, those will be around for a while, and those are still the standard now because there's so many of them out there, and they're great looking monitors. They're OLED. I don't know why Sony stopped making them. They're really hard to find. Like, nobody's selling them. Everybody's just like holding on to them. So if you see one for a good price, you know, snatch it. So, you know, a lot of this crew gear is, you know, quite a substantial investment up front. So, you know, I mean, don't, you know, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm, you know, do your own research. You know, I'm not an accountant, and, you know, don't ever spend more than you can afford. But, you know, if you're going to get this stuff, it's going to be a big upfront investment. But if you're working enough, it will pay itself off, and that is going to turn into a profit. And then over time, as this stuff becomes older, you can then take it, sell it, and flip it and upgrade to the newer version of whatever you're buying. You know what I mean? You just kind of go through that cycle where you get the thing, get your money back, make a little bit of money, and then you sell it, and then get the new thing, and then just kind of keep going. And you're always making money and always staying up to date with what's being used on set. So here comes the most frustrating part about crew gear. So it's become this really annoying thing that happens everywhere and all the time is discounts. So especially, you know, camera houses. There's always, most always, it's very rare that you're gonna get list price for your gear and your rentals. And so what you do is, if you're in camera and you're renting your camera accessories to the production, what you'll do is you'll match the list price of whatever it is that they rent, whatever, you know, say you're renting this Teradek, you match whatever they list it for, right? So, you know, let's say this is $550 a day at list, that's list price. So all the time, the production tries to get some kind of discount, and the camera houses give discounts. And sometimes it can be really big discounts. I'm talking like 40%, sometimes more than that. I mean, that's really rough. So, you know, list $550 and then, you know, take 40% off, and then that's what you're actually gonna get on your rental. And that's basically how it's done. You know, it's rare that you're, like I said, you're gonna get list price, but, you know, you're still gonna get a decent amount of money. And, you know, the more jobs you get it on, the more money you'll get. And every once in a while you'll get lucky where, like, you'll do some job where, like, money isn't really a big deal, and they can do, you know, almost full list price for the camera package, and you'll get a little bit extra money. You know, don't get surprised when you get that check or that invoice saying, you know, 40% discount. You know, it happens, and it sucks, but you're still getting money. So, you know, don't leave that money on the table just because there's a big discount. You know, I don't want that to discourage you from, you know, getting gear, because you will make your money back. I mean, no doubt about it. If you keep working, you'll make your money back. You don't want to leave that money on the table. And so sometimes, like with camera, like I said, if you're renting, sometimes you will invoice production separately. So you'll do the job, and then the rental house will send an email saying, okay, you owe the rental house this much, you owe you know, this person this much from the budget and this much. And then you'll just send your own invoice to the production with like a W-9 for taxes. And so that's one way it usually happens. And then the other way is if sometimes productions don't allow crew gear. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to rent it through the camera house. So what will happen is you'll do normally, and then what will happen is the rental house would then cut you a check later. So they'll get the money from production, and then they'll divvy it up and then send you a check. So those are like the two ways that the crew gear, you know, works when you're getting your money. Okay, expendables. Let's talk about expendables. So, you know, if you're on like a 1 or 2 day job, sometimes you're not going to get an expendables budget unless it's something you absolutely need. Like, say, like they're doing rain towers, or, you know, there's like a rain scene and they're gonna, whatever they're gonna do to get rain, and the camera's gonna be in the rain, you're gonna need rain covers, right? So you have to like just tell production, say, hey, we're in the rain, I need you to buy these rain covers. So that's stuff that they will have to buy. It shouldn't be something that you have to pay for. So even if they say there's no expendables budget, like they're gonna have to provide that stuff because it's their job to give you the equipment you need to do your job, right? You know, if they don't have a budget and you need something, they can still get it for you. But if you're doing like a longer job, you know, like a week long commercial, or you're on like a, you know, indie TV show or an indie movie, most likely they're gonna have some kind of expendables budget, because you're gonna need tape, you're gonna need Velcro, you know, whatever department you're in, you're gonna need tape. You know, almost every department uses tape, right? So, you know, if you're the art department, you're gonna need butyl, you know what I mean? Or stuff to hang stuff on the walls, you know. If you're the grip department, you're gonna need, you know, scrap wood, like 2x4s, if you have to build some kind of platform. You know, if you're a gaffer, you're gonna need gels and diffusions and NDs for your lights and windows. So, you know, always, you know, ask for an expendables budget, you know, and charge them for like if you know, if you're a gaffer or a grip and you have those materials already, charge them afterwards if you use it. You know what I mean? Charge them for those expendables, because, you know, that's stuff that they have to pay for. It's not your responsibility to pay for that stuff or provide it. You know, sometimes on camera, you know, if, like I said, if it's like a short job, you know, I'll have my Velcro and stuff and I'll use it. And sometimes you run out, and so you just kind of try to, on future jobs, just try to, you know, you're like, oh, I'm out of air, I'm out of Kim wipes, you know, like, oh, let's get an expendables order, I need some of this stuff. So you'll just kind of put that stuff on your expendables order and then kind of keep it for yourself, because once the job is over, you get to keep those expendables. They're all yours. Even though production paid for them, you get to keep them. They don't want them. They're not going to do anything with them, you know, because everybody just goes off into separate jobs, you know. So, you know, production doesn't want to hold on to that stuff. So you get to keep that stuff, and then you can use it for future jobs. And then when you get low, get an expendables order, get more, you know. It's a good way to, like, so you don't have to pay for your own expendables. So that pretty much sums up this video. If you guys have any questions about, you know, kit rentals, crew gear, or expendables, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Going off walkie.